How are you guys doing tonight? Happy Sunday evening. How was the 4th of July? Or as us short seasonists believe, well, or we speculate, was this happy Liberation Day for the devil? I know that's dark, but just saying. Just saying. How are you guys doing? Mike? Am I loud enough, guys, today? Let me see. I've been having problems with the mic lately. Do I sound well? Do I sound loud enough tonight? I'm a little quiet. Gosh, that's never been a problem before. Let me try to mess with the settings a little bit. Let's turn off this. All right. Okay, am I low or am I loud? You can't hear? You can't hear at all? A bit quiet. Gosh. This is a issue here. Let me see. I've never had problems with the sound before. I mean, it's just me tonight, so can you guys turn it up, or is that not working? Can't hear it. Nobody can hear me. Man, I tried that other microphone. It sounded like garbage. I can try the other microphone. I'm gonna have to make this work. Am I clear and loud? I have it all cranked up and it's still pretty low. I can't hear you. Okay, so if everybody can't hear me, I'll try the other microphone. It doesn't sound as good. I don't, I haven't changed anything, so like this is the work of the devil, I would say. All I know is the last time I was on the live stream with Ceiling Fan Man, my microphone, it sounded like trash. Okay, let me try this other mic. Okay, can you hear me now? That it's loud now? Should I turn it down? Does it sound like crap? How's it sound now? Good, good, no good. Okay, it's good. It's good? Very good, no. Okay. Overall, I'm going to take that as better. Okay, so this is Q&A, so I'm giving everybody the opportunity to ask questions. Obviously, I'm going to riff for a minute, just obviously so I get some good questions in the chat. But if you guys have not following me on Instagram or TikTok, I went down to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Actually, it was Mount Pilot, North Carolina, and I went do some hiking. It's loud and tinny. Gosh, I knew it was. I hate this microphone. That's why I don't normally use it. You see. Does it sound better? Does it sound better now? Okay. If I got a mod, can you help me put the good questions at the top? Okay, it's better. Does it sound better now? Okay, it's fine. People are picky, but you know, I want it to sound good too, though. Okay, well, I'll get right into the questions. I can talk about my trip to North Carolina later. How do we explain all the events happening now that line up with Revelations? Well, first of all, it's the book of Revelation. And maybe this might be nitpicky, but I do not like when people say Revelations. It's the revelation of Jesus Christ. So it's the book of Revelation. Also, well, people have often commented from my very first videos, I started talking about the end times. And there was always people who mentioned, if the enemy has the playbook, which they do, why couldn't they actually try to manifest some of these things to happen? So it's very possible that that's what's happening. The other possibility is, as Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. And if things happened before, they're going to happen again. That we live in a cyclical place. God has made a cyclical cycle. So things that were going to come again. What's funny to me is when I was actually thinking, so the wife and I, as we've taken the Bible challenge, like Genesis to Revelation, in, well, not a year, but sooner than a year, we just began the book of Jeremiah. And isn't it funny how it mentions, like in the book of Jeremiah, I think it's chapter 2, it mentions that God is going to bring chaos from the north, and he's going to bring these nations, these tribes, these kingdoms, and they're going to set up their kingdom right at the gate of Jerusalem and right around the gate of Jerusalem. So that makes me think about the Daniel prophecies. So Daniel chapter 7 talks about 4 different beasts. And so the 4 beasts in Daniel represent Babylon, Persia, the Greek Empire, and then the Roman Empire. Okay, so that's 4 different empires, right? Obviously, it's the same from the prophecy about the statue. So why does anyone believe that the Roman Empire is reborn again after it's destroyed? The only reason they believe that is because they don't believe these things have happened. It's funny. It's like, it's not 5 empires, it's 4. And obviously we know, like, historically, the Roman Empire fell. When did it fall? Historians debate that up to hundreds of years, which makes you believe that, gosh, all the things in the Bible actually happened already. Not, well, like I said, not again. If we believe we're in the short season, there's still prophecies to conclude the book out. But the main prophecies, yes, those have been fulfilled. I mean, there's 4 beasts. One of them is Rome. It's the last beast is Rome. Isn't that crazy? I can't pin comments, or don't worry about it. I'm gonna have to do my best to Be quick on my feet then. Okay. Let's see. We got another question. Question. Referring to the little season debate last week you had, I had a question about this, the severed preaching heads of the saints. Where do I find more on this? I know about that account. You're going to have to reach out to Demon Racers, Brian. I believe he talks about that somewhere being in Northern Europe. He's mentioned that before. I have not looked further into that. So yeah, consult Demon Racers. Demon Racers is on TikTok. He's on Instagram. Instagram's probably the best place to reach him for a quick comment. He will respond. So check him out. Let me see. JT, what do you think is more likely? 1776 or 1999, 2000? If 2000 were there more than 1,000 years distorted, or many when? Well, so I actually had on, was it, gosh, I know his name is Jason Hicks, but he's got his, the count he had is, I'm drawing a blank at what he called his TikTok, his YouTube account, and he had the conclusion that Satan was loose in the year 2000. Now, I do not subscribe to that idea because, I mean, I think 2000 was obviously a formative year, but the devil seemed like he's been out a lot longer than that. I think 1776 seems more likely because of the Statue of Liberty, the fact that America is supposedly founded in 1776, the Illuminati is founded in 1776. It seems like our history is about that long. Like, if you go try to find good history, it doesn't go back much further than that. Everything past that is very sketchy and gray. And there's all those revolutions that happen around the same time. I think that's why 1776 seems more likely. And obviously, there's this place between the Revolutionary War and then the first pictures, and you have all the mud everywhere, the mud flood stuff. I think that, yeah, it's much more likely that it began in the late 1700s, which, of course, are they the late 1700s, or is it a different time because time has been added or removed from our timeline? Again, those are hard questions to answer, other than having, like, I guess that guy Flamenco has done research about the what is it, like the cosmos, the Mazzaroth, the biblical astrology. He's been able to calculate the ages of the earth based on that. Now, that's above my pay grade, and I don't know how to do that, and we'd have to rely on him and trust him. But that is interesting. Okay, so somebody said, okay, so I can answer this question now. JT, how was the hike checking out the tree stump structure? I hope you guys had fun. Yeah, so this weekend, I was in Pilot Mountain, North Carolina, and I hiked Pilot Mountain. And if you guys have not seen Pilot Mountain, let me try to look that up real quick, and I'll try to show you guys that. If I showed you guys my whole video from that, and I'll post this to YouTube later, you probably would be bored. I mean, I don't think, maybe you wouldn't be bored, but let me check out Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. Okay, Pilot Mountain, and I'm going to share this screen with you guys. So there you go, guys. That's Pilot Mountain. So what do you guys think of that? I mean, like, I think as somebody who's kind of looked into the giant tree stump theory, were these once giant trees? I would say that if any of those things were tree stumps at any point, I would say Pilot Mountain seems like it would be on the list, right? What do you guys think? I mean, like, that thing looks really strange. But with the short season concept in mind, and I've seen so much meltology and things that have been melted, is it possible that Pilot Mountain wasn't a tree? What if it was a melted structure? Because there was some evidence, and I'm not saying it was proof, but there was some evidence that things around that looked kind of brick-like. Maybe. But yeah, the wife and I went down to visit my friend David Shane, and David is if you guys don't follow him on TikTok or Instagram or anything, he's actually on here on YouTube. I did a podcast with him and also Ricardo, and they have a podcast called Question the Narrative. And so David Shane's specialty is biblical cosmology. This guy has got so much telescope tech, camera tech. He doesn't get paid to do it, but he's basically a professional. And so we did look at some stars with him. And David Shane's awesome. He's a great guy. He's super down to earth. And so we went and hiked with his girlfriend and him, and we went around Pilot Mountain. And then the next day the wife and I went to something called Hanging Rock, North Carolina. And they had a national park there too. And dude, I'm telling you, the closure I've gotten with God, the two things I've been most fascinated with is the stars, obviously the moon, the sun, and the stars, the heavens, and also just the wonders around the world. About like, I like to hike, I like to be outside, and yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I highly encourage anybody to get out there. And I said that to me that we can do a lot of research from our phones, from our computers, but there's no substitute from boots on the ground, getting out there, checking things out. I mean, just getting out in there and just being in God's creation. I mean, like, gosh, this is why God made this for us. And I think that, to me, like a picture never does the whole story, right? They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but what is your own eyeballs being there, experiencing things? Like, that's obviously way more than 1,000 words. So yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. And like I said, I'm going to post a video later of our little trip. I think you guys will enjoy it, but I won't take up the whole question and answer based on that. So let me see. I'll stop out of the share screen. But yes. So anyways, that was obviously something I wanted to talk about. Let me see. You can scroll back up. Sorry, I'm gonna break the hostilities. Thank you for correcting me on that. Yes. Thank you so much for the super like. Appreciate that. Dry Tattoo says, looks like a stump on my side. Yes, it does. It does look. It certainly looks like one. If 1,000 years is considered a long time and a day to the Lord is 1,000 years, would it be interesting to assume that a season, 1/4 of 1,000 years, would be approximately 250 years? Many people believe that. And I don't think it's a bad theory, but what I would say is that that's all it is. So I talked about on the last live stream with Ceiling Fan Man and Jen from Meltology, was that what you're seeing is like, so God has given certain timetables, like exact times, but he's also just giving things like things are going to happen at a certain time. And only God knows. I even think about when Jesus is saying that, like, nobody knows the day or the hour, because I do think it's somewhat based on us. So if it says that the short season is based on Satan gathering the nations, deceiving them in order for them to go fight the camp of the saints, well, it makes sense to me that it's not a specific amount of time. It's the time it takes for the devil to deceive the nations and gather them. And that's because that's really all we really know about it. So it might not necessarily be 250 years, though it does seem like things are kind of coming to a head now. But 250 years, if it was 1776, we're talking about like 2 years, right? Is it going to be 2 years? I don't know. I'm not going to say it's not, but I would say that the 250 years, well, you know what? We want to put timetables on things, so we want to be ready for them. I think we should always be ready for it, but I do think that it's more about God's timing, that a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is a day, because God is patient. God does not think in time like we do. God knows certain things need to happen. And however long that takes is however long it takes. Let's see. I really appreciate all your ideas used to help spread. Have you watched the movie Nefarious? If not, maybe look into it. I think you'd find it interesting. I will check it. You know, people have said that and people have talked about that movie. I need to go watch it. I did enjoy the trailer. It looked interesting. But yes, you know, it's funny. I think I should get together with Demon Erasers, who's obviously he's pretty dialed in on that topic. We're gonna have to watch it, maybe possibly review it. You got together with Paul from Understanding Conspiracy. He's getting with Dustin Barr from Beyond the Veil on the 20th. When will you the same? Okay, so you think I should connect with Dustin Barr? I mean, I don't know him. I mean, but potentially I could. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to the idea, I guess. Let's see, I'm new here. Can you give me a synopsis of your channel? Well, okay, sure. Okay, so obviously my name is JT follows JC. My actual name, which I don't mention very often, but I am on Facebook, so it's Joe Telford. So my initials are JT. Some people call me JT. I follow JC, which is Jesus Christ, and it's basically just me. And obviously, I've been direct. I mean, I feel like I've been led by God to make content, and I'm a Bible believer. I believe in conspiracies because I go down the rabbit hole all the time, and I think that's led me to the little season, which is that's the topic of late, which encompasses lots of topics. But basically, what I do is I feel like it's that Ephesians 5:11, exposing the darkness with the light of Jesus. That's what I feel like my mission is. And basically, I like to point out lots of lies to lead people toward the truth. And that truth, again, is Jesus Christ. And yeah, that's the quickest way I can say it. And hope that helps. See. Question, do you think the violin could possibly be just another creation by Saint during the reign? Okay, well, why would you say that? I mean, the violin is an interesting instrument. Sounds pretty good, I guess. It's kind of old school. I don't know. I mean, I do believe that music came from God. I think that's probably a heavenly thing because we know they sing in heaven. We have, you know, like the holy, 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 you know, is like that song they sing in heaven. So I believe music came from heaven. What instruments do they have there? I don't know. Very possible, but I don't know. What's your opinion on the unknown man at the Declaration of Independence signing? You know, I've heard that story that if you guys are not familiar with this, there's been multiple instances of strange men who kind of stirred up crowds and like of people they no one knew who they were and they kind of disappeared without a trace afterwards. Supposedly during the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that happened. Now, obviously, I think the implication there is that this man was not a man. This man was an angel. And the angel directed the men to do certain things. And in very important, pivotal points in men's, you know, journey. Again, like that's super interesting. And I don't doubt that happens. You even think about in Hebrews, it mentions that kind of like be careful how you treat people because you could be entertaining angels unaware. Like, is that what it's talking about? Because in the Bible, angels, again, they're described differently in heaven. Obviously, in the book of Ezekiel, Isaiah, they're described differently. But in most cases, when angels show up, they're described as being looking like men. They're just described as men. So Daniel, they're described as different, but it's almost like it's a vision of an angel. I don't know. That's interesting. I would like to learn more about that because I don't know if there's any more details than yes, a man showed up, he stirred the people up, and then he was gone. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see where are we at? Question. Do you think that this great deception, what do you think the great deception is? Also, I believe it will happen in 2029. Wait a minute. What, like you say, what do you think the great deception is? And then you say you think it's going to happen in 2029. So it sounds like you already believe in a great deception. What do you think it is? I mean, I think that when the Bible talks about the strong delusion, it's not talking about aliens. Though I don't think, I mean, I believe that could be a delusion. It could be a deception in the time we're living in now. But the strong delusion, I believe, in the Bible is the people not believing in Jesus Christ. Because you think about it, like we get to be deceived about a lot of things. I mean, with our relationship with God, it's all about being in Jesus, faith in Jesus, God's grace, walking in faith. So if you believe in that, you could be wrong about lots of things, and it's not detrimental to your eternal life. So I think the strong delusion, what's interesting is potentially when Paul's talking about the strong delusion in the book of Thessalonians, it's all these people rejecting Jesus. I mean, I think that the apostasy is falling away from the faith, but there's an alternative translation that means rebellion. So Paul's saying that these things won't happen until the rebellion happens first. Well, what happened in 66 AD or before then? The rebellion of the Jews against the Romans. So that kicked off the 42-month war, which ended up with the zealots and all these people going into God's temple, believing that if they fought hard enough, God would save them eventually, because they believed in the Daniel prophecies. They knew the timeline. They knew when the Messiah was supposed to be there. So they shut themselves up in the temple, thinking God would save them. And instead, God put a spirit in the Romans, and he put a spirit of rebellion in them, because it's God that sends the strong delusion. Remember, think about what Isaiah said. He prophesied, like, look, but don't see, hear, but don't understand, because if they did, they would be healed. And so God hardened their hearts in order to bring the Gentiles over to him. So this is all this stuff happened. And I feel like that's likely what the strong delusion that Paul was talking about is that people are going to look for other people and besides Jesus who already came and was already going to save them. And it literally ended up with them being destroyed inside God's temple, inside the holy city, which was trampled on by the Gentiles for 42 months, just as the book of Revelation chapter 11 said. Let me see. Why is 1776 a special year, theoretically, that was actually about 1070 AD, you think? Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like 1070, 1776. Like, how do I know that those aren't the same year? We don't. All we really know is that there's a reverence for 1776 based on July 4th and obviously the founding of the Illuminati. I mean, it's a big deal. There was a lot of chaos in the world at that time. But again, this is still speculation. I mean, a lot of us get that concept from it's right around the time of what we believe the mud flood was, but we don't know that for sure. Because again, there's not much history we can rely on of that time. But also you have like things like the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty with the obvious symbolism with the chain around her ankle broken. She's got the tablets that say 1776 on them. I mean, she looks just like that Lucifer painting. Very similar, there's a Lucifer statue around the same time. It's got a broken ankle chain as well. It makes sense. Oh, and I'm going to say this. I'm not so worried about it these days, but gosh, when I used to make TikTok videos and I used to make reels all the time, I do kind of worry that people might steal your idea. But you know what? If you guys can make this video better than me, have at it. So I was in Sedona, and this is interesting. So I was in Sedona in November, getting married, by the way, which is, pretty cool. But Sedona is a very beautiful place, but it's also a very new agey place. There's all this red brick. Well, there's all these red mountains that were probably once buildings. Now, the real question is, when were they buildings? And they make the most unique shapes: cathedral rock, bell rock. There's a pyramid rock. There's all kinds of weird stuff out there. Yeah, there was something that happened in Sedona. How long ago? I don't know. But anyways, the Native Americans supposedly thought this place was a mystical place. And the people today think it's a mystical place. Okay, so all that being said, it's got this new age vibe to the place, which I don't like, but I love the scenery. I love the weather, the dry air. It's awesome. It's a cool place. But they have this one shop, like this one strip mall of shops, and they have this statue. This statue is crazy. I got to show you the statue. I'll look this up for you. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna look this up. You guys are gonna see this statue. Okay. All right, now you guys got to see this real quick here. All right, you guys seeing that? All right, check that out. What are your thoughts on that statue right there? So that is in Sedona, Arizona. It is pretty nuts, right? So what does that look like to you? What do you guys see with that? So they call this the caduceus, and so the caduceus is like basically where you get your modern like medical symbol. I mean, I guess it's not your modern medical system symbol. It's like your medical symbol from like forever, and it comes from like Mercury and like Hermes. I think what it originally comes from is literally the bronze serpent, right? So you have the bronze serpent. And, you know, I'm going to get a better look at. I'm going to try to get you guys a better look at this. Here's a better view of it, maybe right here. Okay, you guys see this thing? Yeah, so this is this thing right here is the modern medical symbol, the caduceus. Like I said, Mercury and Hermes are like the two gods associated with this. But then you go all the way back to the times of the Israelites in the wilderness being bitten by serpents, and they actually had to. God told Moses to make a bronze serpent, and they were supposed to look upon the serpent, and that was supposed to heal them. Did that not change on here? You guys still not seeing this view? Let me see. Oh, let me see. Sorry, you guys did not get the good view. Let me share this. Okay, you guys seeing that? It's the same. This is the actual one from Sedona. Now, but what do you see there? Can you guys see what I'm seeing? I mean, see it like the way that I'm seeing it. What I see there is, for one, you have a being that looks like an angel because it got wings, but it's also got the 12-pointed star crown on it, just like the Statue of Liberty. But what I also see is, somebody says an egg. It's not just an egg. That is literally a globe. You know, so obviously the people who are flat earthers, whatever, that is a globe right there. So what I'm seeing from this is I'm seeing that you have something coming from up out of the earth, coming up out of perhaps a pit, freeing itself, right? It's got the crown of freedom, just like the Statue of Liberty. And I do believe that there's a gender bending thing going on with the devil, because the devil is often associated with Venus. So when somebody would say, well, that's not the devil because that's a woman, I don't think it matters. I think it's the same being, and I think that what it's representing there is showing that it's coming up out of the earth. Now, here's how I know it's the devil. Here's how I would almost be positive that this represents the devil and not some other being. There's an inscription on this right under it. It says Caduceus. Let me find this real quick. See if I can find. Sorry, I'm looking for, just so you guys can see this clearly. Okay, so gosh, it's not showing you. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to read. Let me see if I can find a tab that shows it a little better than that. Gosh. Sorry, folks. Let me do something real quick. Bear with me here. All right. All right. Now I know this is probably hard to see, but what this says is, "For he will command his angels concerning you." Okay, so it says, "and guard you." Okay, so do you know who said that? Do you know who actually said that? Well, first, said it. King David said that. So King David said that. But you know who also said that? Let me read to you about the devil and also Jesus. Okay, let me go right into here. So this is where that phrase comes from, it comes from Psalm 92. Okay, so you go to Matthew chapter 4, and it says, so this is Matthew chapter 4, starting with verse 5. "Then the devil took him up to a holy city and set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said to him, 'If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you.'" Or did I say Psalm 91? Yeah, Psalm 91. I actually, you're correct. So that's literally what the devil was quoting to Jesus. Psalm 91. So to me, it's like kind of, what do you need to know? I mean, I think to me that's like what it's saying. It's like that's it, right? I mean, let me see. Is that not showing you that? Let me see. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that in Scripture or not? I thought I shared that. Let me see. Can you guys see that now? Can you not read it, or can you still see it? For some reason, I'm not seeing it on the screen. Okay. Yeah, point being is okay, so going back to 1776, it's like there's this very clear image of this deity that I believe is the devil, because it's shown as, I think it's represented as Venus. It's represented as, I think, Columbia. Columbia holds the torch. Think about Columbia Pictures. It's represented by the Statue of Liberty. It's represented by Minerva, probably likely Artemis. All the feminine deities, I think, are literally the devil as well. And I think that's really how they trick you. And I think that's likely why we have this inversion of the genders, because the devil literally has tricked us. And obviously, he's got many names, he's got many forms. And I think that you're not looking for the feminine deity with the devil. And I think that's why there's the deception with it. Let me see. But yes, what do you guys think? I mean, there's another thing on here. What did it say? Try to go back to that page. Oh, this is so annoying. Yeah, I mean, I think it's represented of. Let me see. what does it say? It's the artist's goal, it says, my goal is to see 7 ladies on 7 continents, transcending individual differences to become a unifying symbol for universal kinship of humanity in all creation, a physical metaphor representing the spiritual connection between all things. To bring healing power of love into the earth, ushering in a new era of peace. I mean, to me, it's like, there's your new era. Like, your new era is literally like the devil is loosed. The devil is the god of this world. And it's represented by a lady of liberty, a snake, and obviously, again, it quotes the scriptures that the devil actually quoted himself. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes, the artist was definitely a Freemason. The artist is obviously very strange. What else does it say? It says some weird stuff in here. Recognized internationally as the universal symbol of medicine, the caduceus has become an angel of healing, rising like a mythical phoenix, heralding a new era of harmony, peace, to heal the earth and its inhabitants with love as the master physician. How about that? How about that? I mean, like, just think about it. It's like, what did the earth need healing from by this angel who rose like a phoenix? The phoenix is also a symbol of the Illuminati, right? Which, again, if it was founded in 1776, and again, the phoenix has to rise out of ashes. And if you think about it again, the phoenix could have rose out after this mud flood, whatever it was, because obviously I feel like the mud flood has been symbolized with obviously things been buried, things being burned, all the things. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Am I reaching? It's going to be a video. I just have to make it now. That's why Lucifer was described as beautiful. Right. That's why I'm saying I think that the light bearer, the light bringer, Venus is often called the morning star. You think about it, Lucifer being like a translation of either day star, son of the dawn, or like morning star. So the light bringer is Venus, which is often seen as the last star that could be bringing up the sun in the morning. So Venus is often depicted as like a beautiful woman. That could be it. And it was on Ellis Island. Yes, Ellis Island. Also interesting that the Statue of Liberty is on a star fort. Let me see. Let's see. Where did that go? Yeah, check that out. Look at the island that the Statue of Liberty is on. I mean, just think about the idea of what we've been taught. They were given a statue by the French, and then they built that for it to be put on. Like, that is like the island that it's on is more impressive than the statue. People don't even get it. Christopher Levens, put me on a live and let's go. What would you like to talk about? I don't just put anybody on the air, but yeah, you can ask a question now for sure. Do you have StreamYard? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Let me see. Does anyone got any questions? Let's see. Do you think some of the disciples were still alive when Jesus came back? And if so, why did they still die? Well, yes. So in fact, I do. Because here's what it says in Matthew 16:28. Well, let's start with 27. For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming into his kingdom. Okay, so what I've concluded based on that is that, like, the rapture, the way it's been taught, is likely incorrect. Because he's telling them some won't taste death until you see this. What he did not say is some of you will not die ever. He does say, I was corrected on this before. I mentioned that I said Jesus doesn't say some will not die. He mentions that in John chapter 11, that if you're in me, you won't die. But I believe that's obviously you'll have eternal life. But what he's actually saying is that you will die. Again, you think about it, like, Jesus is the resurrection. So in order to be resurrected, you have to die. All I know is he says that some of you won't die until you see this, meaning some of you will, and then some of you will die afterwards. Now, what does he mean by that? I mean, obviously, I believe he means that he's going to come back in their generation. Some of them are going to be martyred before he comes back, and some of them are still going to be alive. I mean, the people who still believe in the futurist view, there's a very popular video going around social media right now where some guy's actually considering, is John still alive? Like, the Apostle John is 2,000 years old now. 2,000 years. I mean, like, so this is where the futurist view gets you, is like, did they think that the Apostle John might still be alive? You're going to believe that, but you're not going to believe what Jesus said about coming back in the same generation as them. It's pretty much preposterous. It's like it's sad. It's sad. Well, it's like you're trying to you're trying to make the Bible make sense with the theology you've got or the eschatology you have, instead of understanding your eschatology is wrong, and there you have to look back at that. What do you say? Let me see. It says, Joe, why do you think the controller is gaslighting us with the Mandela effect? I'll be honest, I don't get the Mandela effect. It's obviously something that gives people anxiety, because could the enemy be changing history? Like, literally changing, not just rewriting the books, but like literally changing details in our history, where you remember something and it's wrong, but maybe it was right, and then the history is actually wrong, or the things that you see now are wrong. I don't know. I mean, I would say that it might be one thing to make people once again throw their hands up and saying, well, how can we know? Maybe we're just doing it wrong, so maybe I'll just believe what I want to believe. Or maybe they're going to try to change something important. You know, what we talked about on the last live I did with Ceiling Fan Man and Jen was that's a good reason why you should really be memorizing scripture, reading your Bible daily. You should be doing that anyways. But because if it's possible that the Bible could literally be changed, you know, like right now there is evidence that some things have been changed. I still don't know. I don't know if it's my memory's bad or if it's literally been changed, or we're conflating two things together. But I do think I think it's worth paying attention to. If you can debunk the Mandela effect, go ahead and try. But I've seen like there's too much evidence that something is there to completely ignore it. So I would say look into it, try to debunk it, because because I think that's how most conspiracy theorists get to where they are. They try to debunk a certain conspiracy and then they can't, and then they're a believer in it. Let's see, somebody said, can you rectify, abnormal truth, can you rectify the and as it is appointed unto a man once to die, but after this is judgment verse. I mean, I believe that's what I believe it is what it says. I mean, I think that's why some people conclude that everyone dies and then no one's raptured and everyone gets resurrected at the end. But then there's also people like Elijah and Enoch, who in the Bible it says that Enoch didn't die. So I don't know. I mean, I really don't know how to make that, to square that. But it doesn't say all men to die. It's appointed unto men once to die. It doesn't say all men, so therefore maybe there is wiggle room there. Let's see. So were people raptured? I don't know. I don't know that they were. I mean, our examples of people, the book of Revelation, the people called up to heaven when at the end is we're seeing the two witnesses in Revelation chapter 11. They both die. They're dead in the street for 3 days, and then they're called up. So there's no examples in the book of Revelation where you would think that the rapture would be prominent, that anyone gets raptured in that book. There's no descriptions of a rapture in Revelation. I mean, to me, that might be an omission, but I mean, like, it seems like a big omission if that's what people believe the blessed hope is. And that's what the futurists teach, is the rapture is the blessed hope. When Jesus is offering the resurrection. I think some of these things happen after death. I think that's why Jesus said those who would seek to save their lives will lose it, and those who would lose their lives for my sake will find it. The saints who overcame did not love their lives unto death. And if they loved their lives so much, I guess it really wouldn't be a big deal if they were raptured, they never died. I don't know. I mean, it's my belief at this point that if we're in the short season, which I believe we are, then the rapture is past. So why should we continue to argue about it? I mean, I'm not saying it's not worth looking into, because it is an important it's an important part for people in what they believe, why they won't believe what we're talking about right now. So if you can dig more deeply into it, I'm still on the fence. I believe First Thessalonians 4:17 says those who are alive and remain are caught up in the clouds. Now, is that possible that they were caught up after they died? Maybe. I do believe it gives room that there's a rapture. I mean, it sounds like a rapture in that verse. So I don't know. Question: why was Jesus Christ in his rule or reign have demonic statues everywhere? Well, which demonic statues are you talking about specifically? I mean, is it possible that some of these things could have been added afterwards? I mean, like, how would we know when these statues were put in place, and how many of these statues were from before 1776 and afterwards? I also believe that the Bible gives very clear examples of people who do not follow Jesus during the millennial reign. So it talks about the people who do not come up will not get rain. So is it possible there was still rebellion during the millennial reign? Absolutely. There are still people there. They're not all saints. Not everyone's a resurrected saint during the millennial reign. So there's knowledge of how to do things perhaps way better than us. And the bad people have that knowledge too. I don't believe that all the glorious buildings were built by angels. I don't believe they were all built by resurrected saints. Actually, I don't believe either of those things to be true. I believe that the saints, God himself, gave men during that time knowledge of how to do things. I believe that there was a good time then, but it does not mean it was a perfect time. The perfect place was where Jesus was at, in paradise. And then on the earth, there was still men sinning. So therefore, they could have still worshipped idols. It's crazy that sounds. The Bible does not indicate there would be anything different than that. Let's see. Then there must have been two major cataclysms, i.e. the 7 bowls, then later to cover it up. This hasn't been explored. Did Satan use direct energy weapons to cause mud floods? That is a great question. That is a question that I have wondered myself. That Was the mud flood caused by Satan, or was that more judgment from God? I don't know. I mean, it's part of me thinks that Satan is not powerful enough to do what has happened all around the whole world. The mud flood, it shows evidence that things have been melted and buried all around the whole world. Is Satan powerful enough to do that? Would God allow him to do that? I don't know. I mean, like how can anyone really say either way? So I likely believe that something had to do with, like, there's some of these things had to be judgments of God. I just don't know how to explain it other than that, because I don't know that Satan's powerful enough. But on the other hand, to play devil's advocate, is it possible that the devil literally tried to wipe out evidence, witnesses, all that kind of thing around the time he was loose? And as they once said, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he did not exist. Is that what happened here? I mean, he would have to get rid of witnesses if it was to happen. So I don't know. But yes, there's definitely been multiple cataclysms. Obviously, the times of Noah, God promised he would not destroy the world by water again. But the mud flood was not water. I believe it was a great earthquake. I mean, I believe in that whole idea of the soil liquefaction, because everything has sunk in this whole realm. We're literally built, our civilization is built on top of another one. Everything sunk at some point. Could the devil do that? I don't know. Question, who is the Antichrist? Well, a real question would be, who was the Antichrist? And many people believe it was Nero, because literally Nero, the gematria of his name in Aramaic was 666. Nero claimed to be incarnated in Apollo, Apollyon, the beast that came out of the bottomless pit. He obviously was wicked and horrible. I believe Rome was the beast. Nero was likely the Antichrist. And John himself says this in John. Let's go into John. John, the only person who ever mentions the word Antichrist in the Bible, mentions it in John 2, verse 18. He says, "Children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that an Antichrist is coming, so now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know that it is the last hour." So in the futurist belief that an Antichrist has not come, they have to believe that John was wrong, that it was the last hour. I think that's why John is writing that the beast number, the Antichrist number in the book of Revelation was 666, because he was writing during the times of Nero, and he was writing the gematria of his name. It takes understanding to know what he was saying. You had to know that the number that is of Nero's name, Emperor Nero, was 666. So that's my answer. Questions. Why are prophecies being fulfilled to this day? Which ones? Such as? Again, I mentioned before that there's a cyclical nature of this world. Solomon says, what has been will be again. So things repeat, cycles repeat. So are the prophecies being fulfilled red cows? There's no prophecy about that. So what prophecy is being fulfilled that you're talking about? You know, the third temple being built? There's no prophecy about that. The Euphrates drying up? Well, like, what's funny, like when people mention that the Euphrates River is drying up, you know when that happens? That's at the very end. So the people who believe that the Euphrates River drying up is a sign of the end times have to understand that it does not dry up till the very end. What's like the sixth bowl of wrath? Yeah, they go fight on the river Euphrates. So which prophecy specifically? You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of prophecies that sound like they could be because they're related to other prophecies. But again, like I said, as I said, if the devil has the playbook, the book of Revelation, not Revelations, he could actually be trying to manifest some of these things in order to trick people to think, hey, you're waiting on a rapture and not the battle of Gog and Magog. Hello, Meltology. How are you doing? It tells us Jesus gives Satan all power, not some, all power. Quote that scripture. That's not in the Bible. The devil does not have all the power. Like where's that come from? The devil gives authority to conquer the saints. He's given the beast the authority to conquer the saints, but no, he does not have all ultimate power. That's not in the Bible. Could the millennial reign be over 2,000 years? Well, it certainly could be over 2,000 years, but I mean, based on what the Bible says, is with the translation we have, it's 1,000 years. You know, what some people believe is that it's a wrong translation, and it should be the millennial reign should be indefinite infinity. But to me, that never struck me as sounding that didn't strike me as making any sense, because there's a time when the millennial reign starts where Satan is bound, he's put in the bottomless pit, and there's a time where he is let loose. So it makes most sense to me that it's 1,000 years, because why wouldn't it be? Let me see. KJV has been changed to no new thing. Nothing. It used to be nothing new under the sun. Well, certainly the translation I read says nothing new under the sun. No, Christopher, you're fine to ask questions. I mean, that's what this is about, and I don't mind asking questions. That's fine. Hey, Joe, do you think the term preterism has been used by the enemy as a form of damage to control, to divert the people from learning about the small season? Clearly, we don't align with the preterist doctrine. Yes, I think it's my belief that, again, like when we try to categorize things and label things, it's in order to dismiss them. I mean, that's clearly why that we're called preterists. Like I said, Truth Unedited is the very most clear example of that, where he says, sorry, preterists, we're not in Satan's little season, or whatever his title was. Because it's like he just learned what preterism was. And of course, it's like funny because we have to even categorize preterism, because there's full preterism, I think there's hyper preterism, and there's partial preterism. What we believe, and the people who are in the short season, we really just believe what Jesus said happened. I think that's all I would like to leave it at, is like that the things we're speculating about now are the things that we cannot prove. And we probably will never be able to prove them. What I think I can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, and it does not mean people will believe it, people do not care about facts anymore. It is a fact. And I don't care who says it's not. It is a fact that Jesus was talking to the people he was talking to. There is no reason to believe he was talking to anyone else. And it doesn't mean stuff to us, but he was most definitely, he was saying over and over again, he was talking about a season of people. He was talking about a generation of people. He was talking to his apostles, and when they were asking him questions, he was answering them directly. He was not speaking in code to his disciples. So if you think about it, after Jesus was telling the Pharisees that their house was going to be left unto them desolate, he mentioned to the apostles that the temple was going to be destroyed. Not one stone was left on the other. So what happened? It said that some of the apostles, some of his disciples, went and spoke to him together privately. So they went over and sat on the Mount of Olives, and they were looking at the temple, and they asked him, when will these things take place, and what will be the signs of your coming and the end of the age? He was not talking a parable. He was not trying to speak in code. He told them directly when it was going to happen. And the conclusion was it was going to happen in their generation. Their generation would not pass away until all these things take place. And when you combine it with verses like Matthew 16:28, when he says that some of you standing here will not taste death until you see the Son of Man coming into his kingdom. When you go into John 50 and 51, when he says chapter 1, verse 50 and 51, when he tells Nathanael that you're going to see the Son of Man, you're going to see heaven open and the Son of Man, angels ascending and ascending on top of him. When he talks about Matthew 10:23, when he says, truly I say to you, you guys will not have gone around all the towns in Israel before the Son of Man comes. When he tells Caiaphas, you're going to see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power. Like those are very specific to that time. And why would anyone think he wasn't talking to them? Now, when we get into the other things about like when was the Mount of Olives were split, I'm not positive about that. Like, how could I be positive about that? I mean, like I said, I can't even tell you for sure when that actually happened. In like we're still debating if the actual Israel that we're told about is the actual Israel from the Bible. You know what? Maybe we can do something. This is a question that's brought up a lot. Bible Scribe answered the prophecy about the Mount of Olives being split. Would you guys like to check that out? Because he gives an answer, because that's often brought up. The Mount of Olives being split. The Mount of Olives have not been split, according to futurists. Again, the Mount of Olives is also a tiny little hill in Israel now, right? Is that why is it called the Mount of Olives if it's not even a mountain? I mean, there could be a good answer for that, but I mean, to me, it's like Mount Hermon is an actual mountain. The Mount of Olives is not an actual mountain. Mount Zion is not an actual mountain. There's only one mountain in Israel. Why are they all called mountains if they're not actually mountains? Have I heard of a YouTuber named J Dreamer Z? Yes, I've actually done a live stream with him. I like Jay. Let me see. I'm going to go over to... Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of Bible Scribe's video because I think he gave a decent answer on the Mount of Olives being split. You guys tell me what you guys think about this.
And his literal physical body coming down, standing on the Mount of Olives, and it's splitting under his feet and falling apart. Now, the problem with that is that we actually have a record of this actually happening in history, whether you may know it or not. Many people don't. I still find people on my channel now that don't know this, and I probably need to teach on it more thoroughly. But there was a time in the 1st century before 70 AD when the Mount of Olives was involved in a miraculous event. And that event was that the Shekinah glory, as reported by the priests, moved out of the temple in Jerusalem, and it went across the valley over to the Mount of Olives and stopped there and stayed there. And then what we have recorded in history is that an earthquake occurred and the mountain had landslides on the sides, and it slid down into the valley. Now, this would actually be a perfect and complete fulfillment of Zechariah 14:4, because as I've studied different scholars on this passage in the Hebrew, they say that this language about the mountain being split in the middle or cleaved towards the east and west was the way that Hebrews explained things like landslides and rock slides. So that's exactly what it means, and that had a perfect and exact fulfillment in the first century before 70 AD.
Like we could say that, because of the modern technology.
So what do you guys think about that? I mean, I think that obviously part of like prophecy fulfillment is like the problem is that we have a perception in our mind what it might look like, but perhaps that's all it meant. Like Bible Scribe talks about a lot, and I think this is likely true, is that when we hear earth, likely because we've been taught the globe, that when we hear earth, we think the whole planet, even though, like I said, biblically, it's not a planet. It's oftentimes that it's just saying the land. Earth, land are the same thing. Earth and dirt are the same thing. But we see earth, we think the whole thing. So maybe it's slightly different than what we perceived it to be. I mean, again, you know what? I always find it interesting that like what we're told often as the people who believe in this, they'll say all these things didn't happen. Well, how come Jesus in Matthew 24 does not mention all the things that have to take place based on the Old Testament prophecies? I'm just asking. I'm just asking because Jesus doesn't say when he comes back in the clouds with great power that he's going to stand on the Mount of Olives and is going to split like that. He never mentions that. It does mention in Zechariah that he says that also that those who pierced him are going to see him and they're going to mourn. It makes sense, once again, that Jesus is seen by Caiaphas, the person who put him on the cross, the Romans who nailed him to the cross. That happened during the time of the generation that actually put him on the cross. It does not make sense 2,000 years later. It makes no sense that, again, I mentioned earlier, the four beasts from Daniel. You have four beasts. They represent four empires. You have Babylon, you have Persia, you have the Greek Empire, and then you have the fourth beast that's different. It's the Roman Empire. So today, people have to literally believe in a reemergence of the Roman Empire in order to believe that that's all the beast there was, because Rome fell. Unless, of course, you believe they didn't fall and they've been around for 2,000 years, hiding under the, just hiding this whole time. Now, I know that's not actually, believe it or not, I've said stuff similar to that because you do have evidence of Roman architecture. You have Vatican, you have DC, you have Londinium. But at the same time, that's not what we're talking about. Like a hidden empire. I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people reaching in order to, again, make all these things 2,000 years later. It makes perfect sense in the times of Jesus. JT, I would love to have you on my show maybe in the next week. So if you're available, I could maybe make myself available. Let's see. How are you sure the God of the Old Testament is the same as Jesus, the Father in the New Testament? Okay. Let me see. I can get a scripture on that. That verse says, I was going to read that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's Hebrews 13:8. Now, obviously, Jesus is the confirmation that the word is true, and I would believe that Jesus Christ is the confirmation that the God of the Old Testament is his Father. Jesus is the Father in visible form. He's the same. The God of the Old Testament is the same. JT, if the Watchers took human wives, did Lucifer do the same thing? If not, then why? Okay, I've talked about this a few times. I don't believe that Lucifer is the devil. I believe that Lucifer is the son of the devil. I believe Lucifer is Nimrod. I feel like in the same way that Apollo was the son of Zeus, Lucifer is the son of the devil. And I believe it like this, because I think the Watchers that sinned and took wives before the flood were punished sometime during the flood or after the flood. And I believe that that's why, when there's the first prophecy in the Bible is about Eve's seed versus the serpent's seed. I believe that's why we have this unholy trinity in all the pagan religions, where you have Osiris, Horus, and Isis. You have Semiramis, Nimrod, and Tammuz. You have Zeus, Leto, and Apollo. I believe that, yes, the devil did take a woman, an earthly woman, likely one that was already a Nephilim, and begot Nimrod, Lucifer, and Lucifer was the king of the bottomless pit. Lucifer, Apollo, and was possessed the Roman emperors at the times of the apostles and Jesus, and that was your Antichrist. That's my belief. Aren't Jesus' miracles in the New Testament simple card tricks compared to God's miracles in the Old Testament? I mean, do you think that it's a simple card trick to raise somebody who's been dead for 4 days? Giving sight to somebody who's been blind since birth? Things like the things that Jesus did when he came were things that no one had done before. I mean, Lazarus was dead for 4 days. They said he was starting to stink. And obviously, what more of a miracle could you say than somebody who rose from the dead? Nobody had done that before. I mean, obviously, there's been people who've been healed. They had died and they were raised from the dead. Jesus raised himself from the dead. So no, that is actually not a card trick. That obviously is the power of God. I mean, that's the Holy Spirit. That's power that no one's ever seen before. When am I going to blow the lid off the Trinity deception? I don't know that there is a Trinity deception. I believe that there is 3 individual parts of God that are considered God in the Bible. I mean, do you want to call that a Trinity? Some people say that's pagan. Some people will know. I mean, the point is, there's a clear distinction between there's God the Father. Jesus prays to God the Father when he's on earth. And then there's a Holy Spirit. It's the spirit of Jesus and the Father. I mean, why do we want to argue about that? Jesus tells people to baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, why does he mention three individual things if they're not separate in some way? Like I said, I think that, to me, it's like we're trying to argue about who God is, or understanding God. Why is there individual parts? Even think about when Jacob is blessing his, let me look at this up. This is interesting. And I remember Michael Heiser brought this up. This is interesting. So when Jacob is blessing the sons of Joseph, this is what he says. Yeah, what does he say? So he blesses Manasseh and Ephraim, and he says, and he blessed Joseph and said, the God who from my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long, and the angel who redeemed me from all evil, bless the boys. And in them let my name be carried on in the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into the multitude in the midst of the earth. I mean, so all I know is, like, so obviously he's talking about another distinct personality, saying that the angel, and he's talking about God. I believe the angel of the Lord is Jesus. And also, if you think about it, so Jesus can accept worship as a man. There's a Father he prays to in heaven. And then the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. I don't know. To me, there's three distinct characters or personalities of God. If you want to call that a Trinity, call it a Trinity. If you think that's a pagan concept, you're going to say that God's one, which obviously the Bible says God's one. That's fine. I mean, I just understand that God in physical form is Jesus, the Father in heaven is God, and also the Holy Spirit's God. So call that whatever you want to. You know, while I'm here, I know, so if you guys are not on Facebook, there's a great Facebook group called Jesus, or the Tatari, the Millennial Reign of Christ. And so a lot of people have been talking about this one channel. This one channel ran by this woman, I'm not sure what her name is. She's coming hot and heavy after the short season. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Of course, better than gold. Are you guys aware of what I'm talking about? Now, somebody said they wanted me to do a response video to her. Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you right now, that there's times we'll all do response videos. Okay, truth unedited. And like I said, this is not, don't get it twisted. This is not the sin of partiality, but Truth Unedited has a massive account, right? And I'm not actually elevating him by responding to him. Some people, if we respond to them, we actually elevate them. And I think that's exactly what they want. They want us to respond to their videos. If you guys haven't heard, well, good. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want you to go look for this woman's channel. Lindsay, I'll give Lindsay credit. She's wanted me to do a response video to her. But I'm going to say this, that not every Tom, Dick, and Harry on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok gets a response from us. I mean, I feel like that we are in the place where we are on our side of the interwebs. We're speaking what's true, and when people come in alignment with it, that's good. If they call us out directly, then obviously that might be different. No, Lindsay, good. No, I'm not talking about Lindsay. Lindsay is the one who wanted me to respond to this woman. What I'm saying is that I tried to watch that woman's videos. She actually came into my comment section once, and she tried to come at me and question me on all kinds of things. What I'm trying to say is that there's been lots of people who've said bad things about me, and I've tried my best to not bring them up on my channel because, again, that's what they want. You know, people like that want to be mentioned by name because then they actually might get more followers. They'll get more attention. You know, all publicity is good publicity to some people. That being said, this woman's channel is cringe. Like, I'm gonna say that in the nicest way possible. I could not get through one of her videos. Her videos are horrible. And let's just be honest here. Let's just be straight up honest. What gives this woman the authority to teach at all? Now, you know what the Bible says about that. And I'm not saying every woman who makes content has to worry about what Paul said about that. But this woman has no ability. She has no authority to teach anyways. Am I wrong about that? Her content is not good. Her content is not good, and her tone is awful. So if somebody actually wants to come at us and they're willing to be corrected, then we can talk about these things. I've actually, like I said, we did a debate on this page last week, and I'm okay to do it again if somebody's willing to have their minds changed. But I'm not going to argue with people. I'm not going to have a back and forth talking about this stuff, because I know it's like I said, I can show you what Jesus said, and if you don't believe Jesus, well, then how am I supposed to change your mind? That's what I said. It's like, if you don't believe Jesus and you don't believe Paul, why are you going to believe me? So if I can show you that Jesus said this generation and you don't believe it, if I can show you that Paul was saying, like, listen, somebody made a good point about this. I brought this up, that Paul was saying that if you're called in the manner you're called right now, in 1 Corinthians 7, he says, basically, he believes it's better if you remain as you are. So if you're married, stay married. If you're not married, do not seek a wife. Whatever state you're in, remain in the state you're in, because the world as we know it is about to end, or it's about to change. So isn't that a distinction from be fruitful and multiply? So Paul's getting very far out there if he believes what he's saying about this, right? Like, so it's not only the apostles believe Jesus is coming soon. They're literally telling people that don't get married because the Lord is about to come back. So you'd have to say they're wrong. Like, full stop. You'd have to say that they're wrong. And if they're wrong, how are their letters Holy Spirit inspired? Peter says the end of all things is at hand. Paul says it's the last hour. John says it's the last hour. Paul is telling people not to get married because it's all about to happen. The seasons are passing right at this time, right? So if I can show you that and you still don't believe it, well, then what does that say about me having any kind of dialogue back and forth with them? I'm not going to argue that stuff anymore, because it's plain as day in Scripture. And if they don't believe it, they'll go find and quote somebody that they do believe. I mean, that's the funny thing. So, somebody was telling me, so this woman's, one of her main points was bringing up Irenaeus. So Irenaeus wrote a lot about Gnosticism. He was battling against Gnosticism. And supposedly Irenaeus believed the Antichrist hadn't come yet. Okay, that's fine. Do you know that the writings of Irenaeus, the books he wrote, weren't even discovered to the early 1900s? Okay, so how much reliability can we put into those books if they weren't even discovered until late? And you're talking about one church father. So Irenaeus was the student of Polycarp, and Polycarp was the student of John. Okay, so he's still twice removed from the disciples. There's not one set of Christians who believe all the same things now. So the fact that you can find one church father that believes something, and you're going to put all your reliability into that, but not into John, not into Jesus, not into Paul, not into Peter, not into James. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what am I supposed to do with that? So bottom line is, this person is obviously they're being, at this point, I would say, they're being antagonistic. The videos they're making are very antagonistic. They're coming at the little season so hard, and they're literally to the point of trying to throw shade at people who believe it, like it's the devil's conspiracy, in order to promote this idea. We ain't doing the devil's work. We're literally saying we believe what Jesus said. And I feel like that at this point, that's all we can do. If we don't believe what Jesus said, then what are we even doing as Christians? JC, do you think Peter and Paul are possibly the two witnesses? I think it's possible. I mean, I think that we don't know. I mean, like, the two witnesses are not named in the book of Revelation. You know, it just mentions that they're killed in the holy city. They have power to was to stop rain, basically shoot fire from their mouth and stuff like that. They have supernatural abilities. It is interesting in both Peter and Paul, their shadows heal people in the book of Acts. That's pretty phenomenal. But again, I've always mentioned that in Acts chapter 1, there's two men who witness Jesus ascend. They speak to the disciples apart from them, and they tell them that Jesus you saw as he raised to heaven, he's going to come back the exact same way. So is it possible that they were the two witnesses? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's no books out after the book of Revelation came out. So we don't have history of that other than like the books of Josephus to explain what happened after the book of Revelation was written. And then we have history we cannot rely upon. So can we know who the false prophet was? Well, some people believe that he was Simon the sorcerer, Simon Magus. That makes sense. Some people we have to speculate. Was it Peter and Paul, the two witnesses? Possibly. Enoch and Elijah didn't die. Obviously, the Transfiguration had Enoch or had Elijah and Moses. But again, if John the Baptist came in the spirit of Elijah, could Peter and Paul come in the spirit of Enoch or Elijah and also Moses? Maybe an Enoch. You know what I mean? Saying so if John the Baptist came in the role as Elijah before Jesus came, then two other men who were not those men could come in the spirit because there's biblical precedent for it. The Gospel of Nicodemus said that Elijah and Enoch were the two witnesses. Possible. Question in chat, where is everyone from? I'm from Virginia Beach. Where are you guys from? Also, I appreciate you guys being with me tonight. Gosh, you guys, there's 263 of you guys right now. I'm impressed. Thank you so much. Feel very blessed to have you guys all with me tonight. Australia, Beck from Oz, Idaho. I just want to say, Phoenix, I just want to say that I'm so jealous of all you people from out west. Christopher, you're from Australia too? I'm so jealous of people from the West. Colorado, J Dreamer Z, bro. How you doing, man? Colorado. I think I'm coming out to Colorado in November with the wife. Utah, Jacob Law. Here's my list right now. I want to go to. I want to go to Utah. I want to go to Mount Zion, the national park. I want to go to Moab too. It's funny. It is funny how Utah's got so many biblical names there. Moab. I want to go to Mount Zion. I think I want to go to Joshua Tree in California. I want to go to the Garden of the Gods in Colorado. Oh, there's so many places I want to go. HRGM 333. Thank you so much. You're such a blessing. Let's see. So Trish, you said you're in Sedona, you're in Phoenix. Yeah. So when we went in November, we went to Sedona. We flew into Phoenix. We drove to Sedona, stayed there, and then went to the Grand Canyon. I'd love to do that. Oh, Rich boy, how you doing, bro? Chesapeake in the house. How you doing, man? Yeah, Garden of the Gods. I'm telling you guys, like I said, as we did this weekend, I would say I want to encourage everybody out there, especially the people who are doing the little season research. The most awesome thing is like going out and going in, looking at getting physical evidence. I feel like that's where the little season obviously is so much bigger and greater than preterism, is because we believe what God said, and we're going to look for physical evidence of some of these things that actually took place. So if you go in there, you check out your local towns, you look for old world buildings, and you look for weird stuff in national parks and melted stuff. Yeah, gosh, if you guys are out west, like, please get out there. Yeah, so this weekend, I went over to North Carolina. We went to Hanging Rock, which, I mean, seemed like a regular mountain, but, I mean, then we went to Pilot Mountain. Crazy stuff. Those places are insane. Like, you have to get out there and go check stuff out. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like, what, like, Garden of the Gods, like, how did it get that name? How did the things in the Grand Canyon get those names? What, the Temple of Isis, the Temple of Osiris, the Tower of Ra, the Temple of Shiva, the Temple of Solomon? Do you guys know that there's a Temple of Solomon in the Grand Canyon? Well, there is. Yeah, I mean, like, there's so many weird things out there. Like, how did they get the names? And we're just told that people named it that for reasons. Do you guys believe that? I don't think I ever believed that. I mean, when you find out these things actually look like temples, it's like, maybe they were. I mean, if you're a Christian, you already don't believe what the history tells us about the Grand Canyon. We don't believe the Colorado River did that. At best, you believe, like, the guys like Kent Hovind said the flood did it. I don't know. Is that true? I don't think that the flood did the Grand Canyon, because I think the flood looks like it was done suddenly, like, not like water did it. I don't know. It looks like one of those Lichtenberg figures. It looks like lightning, fire, and everything else. It looks crazy to me. Let's see. Yes, the imprints. Okay, so Mr. Anton Lucas, the imprints of the Star Force in the desert. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like, I feel like this is the kind of the cool thing, but I feel like that more Christians need to be doing this stuff. So I'm sure all you guys have heard of John Levi, and he does lots of work on this. John Levi obviously has a belief in God. I'm not sure where his mind is as far as Christ goes. But if you guys check that kind of stuff, I want to see more Christians doing that kind of work. People were bringing up My Lunch Break. I don't know what his belief in God is. I know he did a video about the Little Season. The Little Season video that My Lunch Break did was, I would say, as somebody who does stuff like videos about this, it was unsatisfying. It was kind of like they brought it up very quickly at the beginning of the podcast or their video. And then it was kind of like quickly forgotten because it was like talking about New York City. Interesting. And I'm not trying to condemn them for doing that, because I don't know. That's not normally the way, the direction their channel normally goes. That being said, it's like, that's why I feel like we need more Christians to do the kind of work that they do and bring these things up. I appreciate that, Christopher. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I would say that there's people like John Levi. He does awesome work. And I mean, I think that, and obviously I would love to talk to him sometime. He's awesome. That being said, like, I would like somebody who's the constant focus on Christ, the millennial reign, the little season, and those kind of things. And like maybe trying to apply all that always with the biblical lens. John Levi's handle is just John Levi. You look him up, you'll see his videos. He does a great job of just basically just showing the historical timeline history we've got is nonsense. I would say that's the best thing that he does. And he's got a dry wit, and I like him. His videos are good. Yeah, My Lunch Break in the same way does the same job. There's lots of people who talk about that. Actually, I did a video with Chris from Old World Exploration. He's very good too. they just point out like historical anomalies that can't really be explained based on the history we've been taught. Guys, check those guys out. But like I said, there's no substitute, again, for getting on the ground yourselves and go doing this stuff yourselves. Because, again, if you guys are in Colorado, you guys are in Utah, the people out west, I feel like you guys have the best opportunity to do these things, because what we're taught is that the West was not even really settled until like 1850. Like, literally, there was no people there before 1850, hardly. And then all of a sudden, these big cities popped up. So you guys have the cities to look at, and you have the national parks. You guys have the best of both worlds. You guys got all of it. I love it. See, Kansas City. Have you guys looked at this? I know, I'm sure we looked at this one time before. But have you guys ever seen Kansas City excavation? Let me see. Look at this place. I just think this. I just can't get enough of Kansas City. This place looks like. You guys seeing that? Look at Kansas City. Kansas City in the 1860s. Look closely at the background. Is that the top of a buried building in the bluff? It's about the same height as new construction in the foreground. Yeah, like that's dirt. There's other pictures too. Let me see. Let's see the other one. There's some absolutely wild pictures of Kansas City here. Look at that picture. Can you guys see that? That is Kansas City. Did they ever teach us anything like this about history? Look at that wagon. Have you guys ever seen these pictures? I feel like these Kansas City pictures are some of the most insane things I've ever seen. Even look at that. Like, there's a picture of this is 1926, and look, there's this giant pile of dirt over there. Yeah, to me, it's like that's one of the best examples of like they dug that place out. It's so bizarre. I have some pics on my Facebook of Kansas City. Yeah, Kansas City is crazy. The hijacker has some good theories. I heard a little bit of the hijacker before. He seems like he's got some theories, all right. He seems pretty out there. Not saying he's wrong, but he's got some interesting ones. John Levi did a video on how some cities in Utah were already there when the Mormons arrived in 1852 from their records. Interesting. I mean, I believe it. I read an interesting book the other day, and it was called Our History's a Lie. And it was talking about San Francisco. And it was saying that San Francisco, and like Chicago too, they both have, like, there's historical evidence that these cities existed before when they were built. So like San Francisco in the 1830s was called a major port in the newspaper. Like this is before anybody lived there. Like, based on our history. Same thing with Chicago. Chicago wasn't really built till the 1860s. And then there's really old maps that show Chicago on them. Yeah, so it makes sense, again, that like Utah. I want to make this video, and I hadn't made it yet. but John Levi, I know, mentioned a video in one of his videos that there's this famous prison in Utah. Let me see. Let's see, oldest. Let me see. Yeah, this place right here. So let me show this picture here. So you guys seeing this prison right here? So this is Utah State Penitentiary, now called Sugar House Prison. I guess it was demolished in 1951, but it started to be a prison in 1855. Okay, let's see what the let me see something. Let's see what the population of Utah was. It said population of Utah in 1850 was, okay, so population in 1850, the population of the territory, which was afterwards became the state, was 11,380 people. During the 10 years from 1850 to 1860, it increased to 40,000. So in 1855, they built this prison that looks like a castle. So this is what we're taught, is that this place just had Mormon settlers there, right? Thank you, Trish. Yeah, so this place had just Mormon settlers back in those days. Did they need a prison for them? I mean, again, you think about these old school Western movies, like what they would have done with people who broke the law. Either they put them in these tiny little jail cells, and they probably would have took them somewhere else, or they would have just hung them. So what we're taught is they started to build a prison in the 1850s when there was nobody there. And then eventually they built and built and built and made it into a castle. And so by 1951, so less than 100 years later, they destroyed this place, demoed it completely. Look at that place. Like, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That this is what we're taught is Brigham Young, like the famous Mormon, was the one who got money from the federal government to build a prison there. Why are they giving him any money? Why did they need a prison? Yeah, why make a prison ornate? Excellent question. Excellent question. Why don't they do that today? Why don't they build anything? I was even commenting this weekend, have you guys ever noticed like that every old building is basically made of either bricks or stones, and like the whole building complete. Thank you, Kuza. The whole building complete is made of bricks and stones, and in many cases they have bricks and stone walls around properties, and then they have all kinds of ornate details. So today, how many buildings do you see that are fully brick? Now you see all this like this mix of stone, glass, different siding and materials, and it's like you can tell, for one, you can tell the quality of the brick is not as well. The quality of the stone is not as well, and it's only like very little limited finishes on the outside. It's all this mix match stuff all over the place. But back in those days, they could build a castle out of bricks and stones in a territory that's not even a state yet, and make it a castle to house prisoners. Meanwhile, it's like, well, let's see if I can find some pictures. Let me see. Fine. And so like we're gonna look at some pictures of like let me see this. See some old pictures of Salt Lake City. Like I said, I just don't believe all this stuff. Okay, so we don't see all these. Okay, so this is Salt Lake City in the 1890s. You guys seen this? 1890. Wait, look, this is 1902. See, this is what you'd expect, right? And then you have this. You have this building right here, built in the water. Okay, see that? I guess they're building the top of one of these temples here. And look at that. There's some tech right there. Okay, look at that's 1890. Look at all those buildings. So they got, once again, they have dirt on the street, but they got power lines everywhere. They have old world buildings, horses and buggies, and is that a rail car or something? I don't know what that is. But that's 1890. And there's that temple. I'm not sure how old the temple is. I have to look that up. There's 1880 Salt Lake Temple. I guess, is this supposed to be a construction photo of this? Because it doesn't really look like there's anything. There's no construction at the top of this place, and there's no people there. Yeah, to me, this is an example of the whole vanilla sky thing. You can't see the sky in the background. There's no scaffolding around this place. These do not look like real construction photos to me. And so the scaffolding's only around the top of it. That doesn't look new to me. And that's supposed to be 1870. What is that? Look, that is 1890. I have to do it in the Levi voice. Yeah, look at these stupid guys just here in horse and buggies. They're thinking like, yeah, let's build a temple. I can't. I'm not doing a good job of it. It's just, this is preposterous. It's like still. So this is like, I mean, what it looks like back in those days, it's like there's, even in 1942, it almost looked like there's mud on the streets. Okay, finally, in 1942, it looks like actually roads with cars. Okay, so this picture, Mormon missionaries on their way to east sometime before 1870. So what we're supposed to believe is these are the people who built that place, right? I think that's what we're supposed to believe, right? These places look so, these old pictures look so creepy. I mean, so look at that. So look at that picture right there. A crowd gathers in Salt Lake City in 1871 after Brigham Young and others are arrested in the lascivious cohabitation with polygamous wives. Okay, so that picture does not look real. Not based on like, so that temple was built like in 1880. Isn't that what we said? Let me go back to that temple. Sorry, I'm gonna go back just to see what the date said on that. Oh, so in 1890, this place looks fully built out. And so go back to this, where Brigham Young and all these people are getting arrested for trying to act like Solomon, have a bunch of wives. That place looks like a Western movie. They're not doing construction then? I mean, this stuff is just, it's so hard to believe. So again, this is 1870s, and look at the people coming out of Big Cottonwood Canyon with all their maybe they moving construction equipment. 1868, look at that. So once again, they got buildings behind them in 1868. And this is straight out of like any Western movie you've ever seen. Some big stagecoach with a bunch of horses. And look at the building behind it. Does that building look brand new to you? It looks really old. Like all this stuff looks old. That's crazy. 1868 right here. Look, all those buildings look really old. There's mud on the streets. There's horses and buggies everywhere. Don't tell me they didn't build roads when they built those buildings. 1874. That's a creepy one right there. Top of East Temple Street looking south in 1870. Look at all the dirt. That one's, ooh, Black Rock. Great Salt Lake and the rise of Black Rock in the early 1870s when boating and swimming are favorite pastimes. Look at how they're all dressed to go swimming. You guys seeing this? My goodness. Well, I think you guys get the idea. The point is, I don't believe any of this stuff. And like I said, if you're out west, I mean, obviously, I feel like you guys have a duty in this community to please go look into the places closest to you. Because I just did this in Norfolk, Virginia, which is probably Norfolk and Portsmouth, Virginia are like the oldest parts of where I live, like in Hampton Roads. You guys could do this wherever you guys live too. And if you live out west, I'm sure you guys can do it better. But I'm going to hang on here for just a little bit more, a few more minutes. I'll answer some more questions if you guys have them. But I feel like we had a decent little show tonight. This is so much more easy, guys, for me when I have a guest, because trying to talk and answer questions for 2 hours is not that easy. Not that I'm complaining, just saying. Who is the Messiah? The Messiah is Jesus Christ. Okay, that's an easy one. Thank you. Thank you. I live in a tiny town in South Idaho. I believe we have buried buildings downtown. Yeah, pictures. If you guys follow me on Instagram, if you guys do get, old world pictures in your towns or like weird rock formations, weird hiking stuff, please send them to me on DM me. It'll go into like probably a junk mail, but I'll try to find it and I'll look for you guys if you said you guys sent me something. JT, just watch Ancient Angels today. Great work. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Do you do this every weekend? No, I don't. I mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't have any kind of schedule for the content I make. I have a full-time job, Monday through Friday. I have kids. I have a wife. I try to balance this as well as I can. My wife is great. She's very understanding about when I try to do this. I feel like that I want to do this more than I ever do it. Sometimes I'm available when people ask me to do live streams together, and I've not done a live Q&A for a while with you guys. So I'm hoping to do one like probably every 2 weeks, or like I mean, if ideally I would do a Q&A with you guys once a week. I'm gonna shoot for every 2 weeks, but like I said, sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes I'll have more on my plate than I can handle. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. I'm restoring a building built in 1903 on Main Street. You know, what's sad is that, like I said, I've mentioned many times, I'm in the construction business, and I've renovated buildings down in downtown Norfolk. And of course, before you know what you're looking at, you don't know what you're looking at. And I really wish I could go back like 10 years ago with the eyes I have now to see some of the stuff I saw. But yeah, if you're renovating an old building from 1803, I would take a close look at that, because chances are it's older than that. And if it is, there's probably evidence that that part of it's buried and part of it's like there's going to be weird features of that building that they don't build them like they used to. So yeah, please take pictures. Mr. Cross Examiner, no. It's just an old saloon. Interesting. JT, you think we are part of that harrowing hell thing? I don't know what that is. Can you explain that? Random question, but what's your favorite film, JT? Okay, growing up, I would say that my favorite movies, in no particular order, I'd probably say my top 5 would be, I loved Raiders of the Lost Ark. Big Raiders of the Lost Ark fan, loved Indiana Jones. I like Jaws, like Jaws movie, like the first Jaws. I liked Empire Strikes Back. I like 80s movies. So I really like Back to the Future, Goonies, those kind of movies. I love all that kind of stuff. I'm like a kid of the 80s, so I love all the 80s movies. Even I guess Jaws is technically a 70s movie. But I don't know. I just dig that. Maybe that is kind of like the people who do what we do, like that Indiana Jones thing where it's like he's going and looking for religious historical artifacts, obviously the hidden history that most people just think's myth. I like that. I dig that. Yeah, the first Jaws movie is just Spielberg, probably not a good guy. Doesn't seem to be a good guy, but man, he knew how to mix in like the scary with the fun at the same time. I thought he did a good job. Are they controlling the weather since they refuse to make a pilgrimage to the holy city or Saint? Well, people have speculated that how much of the weather can they manipulate? It's very obvious. This is not a conspiracy. They can cloud seed. Well, here's what I know. They can make clouds and then they can seed the clouds. So how much of the weather is man-made? I don't know. I mean, some people believe a lot of it. Some people believe that not much of it's real or it's natural. I believe they have. I believe they have ability to do that. So, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, I can only speculate about that, but yes, it does seem that way. What is the title of the video when you went over the 7 churches? The title is "Has Judgment Day Already Came?" Has Judgment Day already came? Because yeah, it's all about the unrepentant cities and also the 7 churches with Alpha Talks. JC follows JC. Will you have a live stream with Russian vids? What do you mean? Is that a channel called Russian Vids? I don't speak Russian. So if I'm going to do a live stream with somebody, they need to speak English. There's a lot of interesting things about Russia. Actually, somebody asked before the live stream started if I was willing to learn Russia and move there. And the answer is no. I mean, I appreciate the conservative Christian way at least the way the government speaks about conservative Christian principles. What I really want is a place where the government will just leave me alone. Isn't that what we all want? I want a government that just leaves us alone, that doesn't steal from us, I want to move off the grid. I don't really want to move to any particular country. I'd like to move someplace where it was easy to grow food and be left alone. Other than when I want to do a live stream, I still want good internet. Is that too much to ask? But I feel like Russia is very cold. I don't like the cold all that much. Like, who does? I don't know. I would like to visit there. It does seem like there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of interesting things about Russia. But obviously, Russia is massive. So that being said, what's Russian vids? I should have asked that earlier. Russian vids is a shill. He doesn't believe in short and Satan short season. Oh, okay. Have you heard the theory that everyone alive in the little season are those who lived in the BC times but never heard of God, and the rest have not listened again until the 1,000 years is over? I have heard that, and I've mentioned before. I said I don't subscribe to that. I don't. When I read what it says about the rest of the dead not being resurrected till after the short season's over, I don't believe that that's what it's saying, because I don't believe that Satan is bound and then he's loose. There's 1,000 years, right? After the 1,000 years is over, at no point does it say that everyone from the millennial reign is gone after that, and then they have to replace them with brand new people. I believe that during Revelation, Armageddon, all the things, not everyone dies. You think about it, like in the short season view, there is a specific geographic location where lots of these things happen. Not everyone dies in that time. So there's people who are obviously not in Christ, and then they have children, and we're related to those people. That's my belief. So I have heard of it, but I do not believe it. Yeah, Mr. Cross-Examiner, I know you're talking about, and no, I'm not going to talk to them. JT, Herring of Hell, I believe it's when Jesus went into Hades after being crucified. Are we the souls of those that were released given a second chance? Oh, no. It's my belief, and I think I could back this up biblically, that Jesus goes into the earth and he set the captives free. So you think about, death had bound all the people before. Before Jesus, nobody went to heaven. And I think this is what I've tried to make a point to say this more often, to get people to think about this. Read the Old Testament. Nobody talks about going to heaven. Even David talks about, I know when I go to Sheol, you won't abandon me there. So when and you remember Job says, and I think David and Job, and I think maybe even Solomon says, please lift me out of this place, because if I die, then how can I praise you? Because the dead knew nothing, the dead did nothing. The dead were in Sheol. Obviously, there's a bad part of it. Potentially, there's like Abraham's bosom, and then there was Sheol, Hades, the real bad, horrible part. So I believe that the saints, the old patriarchs of the faith, the matriarchs and the patriarchs, they were bound by death. Jesus got the keys to hell and to death. He broke down the gates, and he brought up the saints to paradise, to the holy city, to the camp of the saints. I believe those are the people who were resurrected for the millennial reign. Obviously, the people who were living during the time, and also those people. Now, the rest of the dead were not resurrected, I don't believe, until the great white throne, not till after that. So I think that life has gone on this earth after that. But no, Jesus only got those who had faith, like Abraham, the people like Abraham, who had faith in God's promises all along. I believe that's true Israel, the true Jews. They were resurrected, and they're reigning as we speak. Could we, in fact, be beyond Satan's little season? Could we? Yes. I mean, I guess we could be. I mean, that's why I would say that I believe this is where we are. And if I said I knew for sure, I would be a liar, because I don't know for sure. But what seems to make sense to me is this is why I believe we're in Satan's little season, because it seems like the devil's very active right now. And if he wasn't active right now, then I think we would. Then who is this world worshiping? Why is it so satanic right now? So after Satan's little season, Satan is thrown into the lake of fire. So if he was in the lake of fire right now, I think this place would be better than that. I mean, this place is getting darker. And so what's the explanation with that if we're past that? I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense. Satan is clearly very active. The demons are very active. I don't believe that's past little season. I think that's why it makes sense to me that I know Jesus came back because he said he would. And there's 1,000 years. I'm going based on what we know, that it's not before the 1,000 years is over, because again, Satan would be bound. And then after the little season, he's thrown in the lake of fire. So to me, it only makes sense that we're in that time where he is not in the pit, not in the lake of fire. Okay, JT, what's your thoughts on cloning, and if it's real, and how does it pertain to the resurrection? I mean, I'm of the belief that if it's possible, then the enemy is trying it. Now, are these people that we see, like especially celebrities, are they clones? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so, because I think that it's like God has to breathe into people's nostrils the breath of life. I believe that life comes from God, and I don't believe that they could make people that God did not allow them to make. But on the same side of that, there is the Nephilim. God did not want them either. So is it possible that they could make clones? I guess it's possible. I mean, if I'm willing to accept that the Mandela effect could possibly be real, then we are actually saying that they can manipulate history, a la like time travel and stuff. So could they make clones too? I mean, we know they can clone, at least they claim to be able to clone Dolly the sheep. So could they clone Kanye West? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, point is, I think we all believe they would try if they could. So could they? Maybe. At this point, I have no idea. I mean, like I said, I think that I'm open to things, but I think you guys probably already know this by now, but every now and then I have like little disagreements with other creators about things. That what you should know about me, if you don't already know, is that I'm very skeptical about things. So my natural position is like not believing in something right away. You know, so my faith is in God. My faith is in the Bible. My faith is in all the promises of God. But again, that comes with lots of evidence. Like I kind of knew that to be true first, but I believe based on faith. And so the evidence has increased my faith, but everything else I am very skeptical of. So there's lots of people who are into the conspiracy community that believe every conspiracy. I believe that that does us a disservice because I think that there's certain things that we know and there's certain things that we think and there's certain things we speculate about. And when they all get mixed together, that's how you get people coming at us and saying the little season is X, Y, and Z, because somebody who believes in the little season believes in everything. And so that's what they talk about. They talk about every weird thing. And it's hard for the outsiders to see what we believe and then what we think and then what we speculate about. What we know is what Jesus said. What we believe after that is obviously the things that were confirmed, like based on history, the weird things about history, like we question, and then the wild theories about like cloning, the Mandela effect, you know, like the weird stuff about, you know, where the camp of the saints is, like that kind of stuff. We don't want to ever get people confused about what we know and why we really believe this. So I hope that helps. I mean, that's kind of my mindset of like that. I would not be talking to you guys about this stuff if I didn't believe what the Bible said. And if I believe what the Bible says, I'm very skeptical about what men tell me. And then there's certain things, like I said, we're just never going to know. Like we will never know these things to be true. And I think it's okay to say that. All right, I'm going to take one more question and then I'm going to log off because my voice is going. Yeah, check out the movie called They Cloned Tyrone. That's an interesting one because that movie came out right around the time there was all that real funny business with Jamie Foxx, and he was like dying, and then he wasn't dying, and then he came back and looked all weird. And then this movie came right out around the same time where like he's in it about clones. That was weird. I'll give you that. That was weird. Okay. Do you think vibrations affect the way we think and heal? I would say yes. Yes, I would say that there's very good examples that, I mean, if you think about it, that if God spoke things into existence, I think that there is power in the sound and vibrations and frequencies of things. I do know that music affects us. I do believe that that's where, that music and sound have the ability to create things. I do believe that like water and sound likely do have healing properties. Now that's the scary part, is like that you take that apart from God and then you look for healing and it sounds very new agey, probably because the new age knows a little bit of truth. But yes, I do believe that. I like that. I've brought this movie up many times, that documentary, The Lost History of Flat Earth. And that made sense to me. All the stuff about how the cathedrals, the cathodes, they all have these sound, like the cathedrals have this sound resonance inside of them. In many cases, they had bells, church bells, and that kind of stuff. You know, choirs, organs in churches. I think that affects us in some kind of way. And just in the same way that like the certain sound frequencies can obviously be destructive, then the opposite certainly seems to be true to me. Now, I wish I knew more about it so I could actually use that to heal myself, because I've got neuropathy and weird stuff getting old. I wish I could have some sound healing after I did my long hike and I'm all feeling all tight. But yeah, I think it's real. I think it is real. Let me see. Okay, I said one more question, but I think I saw a question I want to answer. Let me see. I forgot one more. Let's see. Thank you, James. Yeah. Actually, I think I'm gonna log off there, guys. I appreciate you guys. Obviously, everybody who gave a super chat, Tris for helping increase the subscriber count or the member count. I appreciate that. I love you guys. Guys, this week I really have nothing on the schedule, but I said I am going to release a video of my little trip to Pilot Mountain and our search for giant trees or maybe even melted structures. So guys, be on the lookout for that. Guys, please let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys want me to do videos about, because the video about the unrepentant cities in the church from Revelation, that was literally a suggested video, and it's pretty awesome. That's my most watched video on YouTube. So I appreciate all you guys' input. I appreciate you guys' comments. I appreciate it when you guys correct me when I'm wrong. I really do deeply appreciate this community, because I love talking about this stuff. I mean, sometimes it's tough, but I appreciate that you guys are all there, and you guys are great. You guys, iron sharpening iron. I love all you guys. Please share this video. Give me a like. You know, I say those things because, you know, we got to do it. But yeah, I really do appreciate all you guys have done for me and all the support. And once again, if you guys want a t-shirt, I'm still selling the Jesus Said There Will Be Haters shirts. Email me, jtfollows.jc@gmail.com. I'm going to send out shirts this week. So if you guys are interested, I still got blue or green. It's the only colors I got. But yeah, I love you guys. God bless you. Guys, have a blessed week. And yeah, that's it, guys. Love y'all.